Okay, we will get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Road to ICOPA 2026 webinar. This is the fourth webinar we're having this year, and it's my pleasure to introduce Professor Kosta Mumcuoglou from the Parasitology Unit, Department of Microbiology and Molecular Genetics at the Hebrew University Hassan Medical School, Jerusalem, Israel. And Kostas will talk about tracing humanity through its life, evolution, history, and today. Kostas, the microphone is yours.
Thank you, Anastasius. Thank you for your nice words. Hello, everybody. As the title suggests, I'm going to talk about human lives from evolutionary and historical perspectives. And I will also discuss some aspects of louse infestations in modern times. I will start with some general remarks about human lice before continuing with their evolution. As you know, humans are parasitized by three forms of lice: the head louse, the body louse, and the pubic louse. Head and body louse are considered two ecotypes or subspecies of Pediculus humanus, that is, the head louse Pediculus humanus capitis and the body louse Pediculus humanus humanus, while the pubic louse belongs to another species, namely to Thyrus pubis. Lice, generally, we can say, are insects and permanent ectoparasites, and all active stages feed on blood. All three are specific parasites of humans only. Just a little bit about their life cycle. Here, the example of the human head louse, which lasts approximately 1 month from egg to egg, while adults live for an additional month. During this period, a female can lay between 50 to 150 eggs, on average about 3 to 4 eggs a day. And few words about the egg during oviposition. The female attach, as you can see, with onto the human hair, attach the egg using a special glue produced by glands in her body. The egg, which is approximately 1 millimeter long, possesses a small lid called operculum. Through this structure, the embryo breathes and later open it, as you can see in these pictures, during hatching. After emergence, the empty eggshell, the so-called nid, may remain attached to the hair for up to 8 months before falling off. Using molecular clock analysis related to louse evolution, scientists estimate that the divergence between Pediculus and Thyrus occurred approximately 11.5 million years ago. The split between Pediculus sheffi, the louse of chimpanzees, and Pediculus humanus occurred around 5.6 million years ago. The age of the most recent common ancestors of this Pediculus species correspond closely with the estimated divergence of their host, approximately 6 million years ago. This suggests that our ancestors were already parasitized by those lice even before becoming humans. The two Thyrus species, namely the Thyrus gorille and Pterus pubis of humans, not seen in this slide, diverged approximately 3 to 4 million years ago. The fact that gorillas and humans separated around 7 million years ago suggests that Pterus probably switched from gorillas to humans and subsequently adapted to his new host. Generally, we can say that rooming for lice still remains a characteristic behavior in both humans and non-human primates. Sorry. Now, as human populations expanded and migrated out of Africa about 100,000 years ago, human lice spread throughout the world. Again, using molecular clock analysis, it was further shown that the divergence between head and body lice occurred approximately 72,000 plus or minus 42,000 years ago. This event is associated with the loss of much of the human body hair and with the adoption of clothing to protect against colder climates. If we talk about written evidences regarding lice, we can mention surely this 16th century BCE document, an Egyptian text known as the Ebers Papyrus, described the use of date flour preparations to control lice. In the book of Exodus, the third plague sent upon Egypt is usually translated as lice, after Pharaoh refused to let the Israelites leave slavery. You can read as it is mentioned in the original text and translation. And here is an anecdote from the 5th century BCE attributed to Heraclitus, the Greek philosopher from Ephesus, who apparently said that people who found lice on themselves, he doesn't say directly, left them where they were, while those who could not collect their lice took them back to their own city. Here you see one of the earliest drawings of a louse. It's almost certainly the remarkable illustration of Robert Hooke, who drew a very precise female head louse in 1664. You can even see here the shadows on the right side of the louse as the light was coming most probably from the left above. As for the physical evidence, louse eggs were found on hairs from human remains discovered in Brazil, and carbon dating showed them to be approximately 10,000 years old. Our own team also discovered 9,000 years old louse eggs in hair samples from an individual who had lived in a cave near the Dead Sea. The first ancient lice were also isolated from Egyptian mummies, and here the publication of even in 1924. Later, head lice and their eggs were discovered in mummies from various parts of the world, especially from China and South America. Royal combs dating from the Pharaoh period in Egypt, approximately 6,500 years old, were used to remove head lice. And here you see 3 to 4 fragments of head louse combs. In Israel, head lice and their eggs were found in 12 of 24 louse combs excavated during archaeological excavation, including sites such as Masada and Qumran near the Dead Sea. In one louse comb from Wadi Farah, 4 lice, 2 operculated eggs, and 86 nits were isolated, while in another comb from Qumran, 12 lice, 10 operculated eggs, and 17 nits were found. Here you can see 2 approximately 1,500 years old head louse nymphs, which in the dry condition of the Dead Sea were well preserved. And here you can see 2 operculate eggs removed from these ancient combs. Most combs found during archaeological excavations were made of wood. Here you see 4 such samples. And practically all of them are from the Roman period, while some were made of bone or ivory. Most combs were double-sided, as you can see on the right picture. One side, here the right side, was used to, with less dense teeth, was used to untangle the hair, while the second side was used to remove lice and eggs. These handmade combs were probably highly effective, I can imagine, for mechanically removing lice and eggs, because they were not smooth, they were handmade and were less flexible, most probably, although probably they were also more painful to use it. I give you another example, which we found again in Israel in a wooden louse comb from the Roman period, excavated in a cave near the Dead Sea. Here on the left, you see the head of the louse with the 2 eyes, 1 antenna here, the second is surely here. And even you can see the stylets through which the louse can pierce the skin and take a blood meal. We found also on the same comb, which you see it here, also a leg of the louse. And here you see the tarsus, the tibia, and femur of the louse leg. Coming now to body lice, louse eggs were discovered on prehistoric textiles from Hallstatt, Salzburg in Austria. But body lice were also recovered from sediment associated with Viking farmers in Greenland and dated to 986 to 1350 AD. In Israel, one of the rooms of the Masada fortress, known as the casemate of the scrolls, remains of a body louse leg were also discovered. Originally built during the final decade of King Harold's reign, the room was later converted into, here you see the palace today, the situation and how it how it was at that time. And the room was later converted into a residential unit during the first Jewish revolt against the Romans between 66 and 74 AD. After the conquest of Masada by the Romans, the room was used as a dump by the soldiers, The context and nature, however, of the textiles associated with the louse strongly suggest Arab origin. Body lice are known, as you know, are known vectors of at least three important pathogens of humans. Rickettsia provazeki, the agent of epidemic typhus, Bartonella quintana, which causes trench fever, and Borrelia recurrentis, responsible for the louse-borne relapsing fever. The first plague possibly attributed to louse-borne typhus was the plague of Athens in 430 BCE. In his account of the Peloponnesian Wars between Athens and Sparta, Thucydides described a typhus-like disease that devastated the Greeks and contributed to the collapse of Athens. In the history, in medical history, there are numerous historical examples showing how body louse and louse-borne diseases influence the course of human history. And I will give you this example, which is rather a recent example. During the French invasion of Russia, Napoleon Bonaparte's Grand Army of 600,000 soldiers were struck by epidemic typhus while in Poland. More than 80,000 French soldiers died during the first month of the epidemic. Only 90,000 soldiers reached Moscow, of whom only 20,000 returned to France. And by June 1830, only about 3,000 were still alive, among them also Napoleon. It has been suggested that louse-borne typhus contributed substantially to Napoleon's defeat and to the collapse of his imperial ambitions. In 2006, Didier Raoul and colleagues examined clothing and skeletal remains of French soldiers from Napoleon's army buried in a mass grave in Ukraine. PCR analysis and sequencing of dental pulp from 35 soldiers revealed DNA of Bartonella quintana in 7 soldiers, and in 7 soldiers, the DNA of Rickettsia provazeki. Bartonella quintana DNA was also identified in 3 body lice recovered from the soldiers' clothing.
What do you mean?
Sorry? Are you talking to me? Okay. During the First World War, approximately 25 million cases of typhus occurred, causing around 3 million deaths, while the last major pandemic occurred during the Second World War. One of the oldest drawings of a pubic louse is attributed to Francesco Redi in 1668. As you can see in this picture, a modern pubic louse. And I will come back to this picture immediately. The oldest pubic louse was discovered in a 2,000-year-old South American mummy. Pubic lice were also found in archaeological remains from Roman Britain, as well as in post-medieval sediments from Iceland and archaeological remains from 18th century London. The subject of examining for head lice and delousing appeared for centuries in miniatures, illustrations, paintings, engravings, and drawings. Here, an engraving from 1491 shows a woman removing lice from a child using a brush. Probably a control method that was later abandoned because I never heard that brushes are used to remove head lice. This late 15th century illustration depicts King Ladislas returning from war and being deloused by a princess. Here we see an engraving made by Herc in the 16th century depicting a man covered with body lice. I think the artist exaggerates a little bit by showing the body lice also in his face, except he had head lice as well, but even then, I couldn't imagine that head lice would move in a hairless area of the body, especially on the face. An engraving from the 17th century depicts a comb symbolizing energetic protection of morality and public order intended for future officials and politicians. During the 17th and 18th centuries, monkeys were even taught to delouse humans, as you can see in these two pictures. And various engravings dealing with delousing were produced between the 17th and 18th centuries. In one work, which you see here from Sancton, a carpenter works in his workshop while nearby his wife delouses their child. More than 2,000 paintings in museums and collections have delousing as the main subject. 20 of these paintings were produced during the 17th century by Flemish and Dutch masters, including works, as you can see here, by Bartolomé Esteban Murillo. The two paintings are by Michael Swerts from the 17th century. This painting was created by the Dutch artist Gerard ter Borch and shows a mother combing her daughter's hair with a fine tooth comb. This one was created by Jan Sieberrechts, a Flemish Baroque painter. And the last one is by Jean-Michel Molenaar, a Dutch painter again of the 17th century, using a double-sided comb, as you can see, either for examining for lice or removing lice from the head of this girl. I showed this picture simply because of its beauty. That is a 17th century combination of three louse combs, as you can see it here, made from a horn, and must be something very big horn to be used to create something like that, except it was glued together. And this engraving of a Spanish family toilet scene was made by an unknown artist in the 19th century. One of the earliest engravings dealing with pubic louse dates from the 17th century and was made by a Dutch artist. It depicts a young boy scratching his pubic area, probably because of pubic lice infestation, while monkeys groom him for head lice. It's apparent someone who left the microphone open. Although lice are often associated with overcrowding and poor hygienic conditions, all three forms of human lice continue to infest people worldwide also today. Head lice remain especially common amongst school children in both developed and developing countries. Insecticide resistance and repeated reinfestations continue to complicate control efforts. Body lice are still public health concern among homeless populations, refugees, and people living under crowded and war conditions. Importantly, body lice continue to transmit bacterial diseases such as epidemic typhus, trench fever, and louse-borne relapsing fever. Pubic lice also continue to occur worldwide and remain associated mainly with close physical contact, physical and sexual contact. If I can conclude my presentation, I'm since long time saying that there are many reasons to believe that the three human lice will continue accompanying humans also during the centuries to come. I thank you for your attention, and I would be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kostas. This was very, very informative. Do we have, I will actually stop the recording now. Okay.
Let me see if I can see you. All the others.